Yo, what's happening, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. So, on the back of the last video, I said I was going to do a weekly forecast, and I'm going to try and do this every single week anyway. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the expectations and potential forecasts of what the majors are going to do over the next week, and then obviously we'll review that next week and see how obviously our forecast came through, if they were bang on, or were there certain things that happened that we weren't expecting, and obviously just have that discussion going forward. So you know what, let's get straight into it. So we'll start off with the DXY and what can we expect from the DXY going forward. So it broke through obviously key areas of support over the last week, with continuing news of economies reopening. We can expect obviously investors moving away from the DXY. Now, this key area here, the 98.3 level, right? This being broken is a huge amount of significance. The reason being is because now that it's come to retest it, which can be which can follow through the downward trend from last week, or at least the week before, we can expect this to further go down. And because it's broken this area, and if it does continue to showcase from Monday obviously a downward trend, right, the key area I believe is this area here, right? If it drops below this area here, right, then what we can expect is we can expect further movement of this going downwards all the way here. We can expect this. Reason being is because there's no other areas to retest it. So even if we were to zoom out, right, we can see these areas here being played. So the next area of interest would probably be around here, right? Would probably be around here, the 97.5 level, thereabouts. So that's what potentially, but I still believe with, even though economies are coming forward, right, the key aspect I believe is we are going to see a retest of this, right? If the bounce, and then for the bounce then come here towards the 98.6 level, if it does break through this, then the DXY is just going to follow through straight, continue down, and obviously that will help some of you lot trade some of your majors, and obviously determine their movements as well. So that's what I'm expecting from the DXY to happen. Legit, I'm expecting a little test of this area here, and then obviously for it to then bounce back up, because I still believe the fact that even though economies are reopening and investors are moving away, we will start to see the impact of COVID-19 in the economy. We're already seeing that from some reports that people have had a massive surge in income, right, through loans and grants and support from the government, but consumer spending has still taken a huge amount of hit. So we'll start to potentially start seeing that impact, and obviously that is probably just going to give a little bit of momentum towards the DXY once again. Moving on to AUDUSD. So let's see what we can expect. So obviously the bullish movement's going to come through. The general trend of this pair, especially after breaking this area, is bullish. And what I believe, what we're going to see in the first week, or at least first half of the week, is we're going to see this retest being played out quite nicely. We will expect this trade, and I think the market is not going to move that much this week, although there's NFP at the end of the week. The market will obviously come in this direction towards this area here, and then potentially, if it does not break this area, right, if it does not break this area, we can expect further movement going upwards to the 0.75 level, okay, which is this level here. So this is where I'm expecting the market to come towards. Right, we'll see how that plays out obviously in the rest of the week. Reason being is because I still think that dollar is going to be weak, and with the Australian economy showing quite a bit of strength, and breaking some key areas of resistance, I believe that it's going to come to retest this area once again, and obviously form a higher low, and then boost right straight back up towards that 0.75 level. EURUSD. So this is a huge one. This is a big one. All right. Reason being is because the euro doesn't have some great economies, let's be honest, right? There's a few major players that are like literally, supporting all the other little economies around it. So it's going to be a little bit of a difficult. This has obviously been fueled hugely by Brexit and the DXY itself as well. And obviously, coronavirus taking a huge hit in some of the obviously European countries like Italy and Spain as such. Anyway, so what can we expect? So there's been obviously this super high here at 1.14, which has been a high for quite a while now. It's come to test this area at 29 on the 29th of March. I believe this is going to hold. I actually do, right? If it doesn't, now this is a key area here, right, where we can look for obviously certain short opportunities. So we can expect the market to come back up here, right, and then we can expect a dive down, right? However, I still believe that the overall trend for this in the long term is bullish. So we can expect, right, a movement from here. If it does reach here within the week, for it to bounce off this 1.1 level, and maybe start looking at the 1.12 level. And I think that is quite key. We are going to see some sort of resistance around this area, mainly because of the fact that it is in overbought conditions, as we can see from here on RSI. But ultimately, we will see the fact that this area of previous resistance to now become an area of support. Go to GBPUSD. So this one is a little bit more tougher to expect because it's been a little bit difficult. The key for me, I do look at specific key areas of I don't like to rush trades as well. So right now for me, this isn't at any area of significance for me to even look at any sort of opportunity. The kind of areas that I want to look for opportunities are probably from this area here, right? Or even this area here, right? For any buy opportunities. If I'm looking for a sell, right, what I really want to do, I'm just going to move this out of here. I'm really going to be looking for some sort of sell around here, right? And there's a lot of blockages here. If I just look, right, or areas of resistance, sorry, for the bullish movement to continue, right? With the lockdown impacts continuing, we have the UK has been the worst country in terms of obviously their strategy to control the lockdown and control, the COVID-19 situation. We're going to start to see the impacts, but I feel as if with economies potentially obviously reopening in 2 weeks' time, that is going to create a huge amount. I believe the movement of this pair is going to be here. Is going to move upwards. We are going to see a little bit of resistance here, and then we're going to see a rise towards this area. I believe 1.265 area is going to come and get retested within literally a week or two. We've already seen a huge amount of movement in the last week, which was almost 200 pips, right? If we see that similar movement again, right, we can get towards that 1.265 level again, and that's where I believe the market is going to head towards. What you really want to do is wait for a candle on the 4-hour chart to have broken above this level, or even above this level, to get your buy opportunities in. NZDUSD. So a bit similar to AUDUSD. All right. Now, if I was to zoom out, now the key area here, which I believe is going to get tested, is the 0.64 psychological level. All right. Now, I believe that this area of resistance has now become an area of support. Right. I think we will see a bit of consolidation happen over the next few days. Right. So we will see this movement, and then we'll see a rise towards that area. Right. We'll see the rise towards the 0.64 level. With the New Zealand, there was a lot of videos that we saw on social media platforms, well, at least I saw them, and a lot of reports coming out with consumers going out to spend. They've probably been one of the key countries in terms of obviously dealing, have dealt with the COVID-19 situation very, very well. Their strategy has been great. They were one of the first countries to come out saying the fact that they're going to start easing their lockdown. There was a lot of videos that I've seen on social media with a lot of people going out to restaurants and cafes and spending money, and these cafes and restaurants have been super, super busy. So it looks like they're almost back to normal, or at least it looks like that. So I think that's going to give a little bit of confidence and a little bit of traction for the performance of the New Zealand dollar against the USD. So that's what we're expecting, and that's what I think the movement's going to happen. Now, what I would probably look towards is I'll obviously look for buying opportunities around here, or at least, a break of this area, and then we'll potentially see a retest here, and then obviously look towards the buy from there. Moving on to USDCHF. So this is a really interesting one, and you're going to get huge amounts of volatility from this, right? Now, this wedge that I've drawn and I discussed obviously in the last video is obviously a key wedge that's been playing. It's been playing in about it since 20th of March, more or less, right? And it's been playing in and around, and there's huge amounts of opportunities that you've got to look to obviously buy and sell at different points. So now this area has become so key. And can this potentially be a false breakout? That's what we're waiting to see, right? that is what we're waiting to see, whether this is going to be a false breakout. Now, we know the movement of USD, but as I explained in the last video, CHF is a safe haven just as well, right? And it's like a bit like USDCAD, where you've got two juggernauts kind of going at it. Here, you've got two safe haven statuses that are pretty well balanced, not pretty well balanced, but pretty volatile against each other, going at it. So, what we can expect here, or at least what I'm expecting, is I'm expecting some sort of pullback, right? I'm expecting some sort of pullback from about here, and then I'm expecting the movement of this pair to come all the way down here, right? I'm expecting the 0.95 level to be tested, right? That is a key level to be tested. That is such a huge. However, right now over the last week, we can see a total movement of happened of about 128 pips. So if I'm expecting the market to move right from all the way there to down here, that's about 154 pips. Now, that is a lot of pips to expect the market to move. However, we have got NFP towards the end of the week, so maybe that might give it a little bit of a push to see what's going to happen. I'm not going to try and predict the NFP, because from looking at the reports and looking at some of the news and looking at some of the historical data, NFP might be positive, right? Although it might be positive, I still feel as if the market's going to react negatively, and still there's going to be more bearish pressure on the DXY. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting. However, if this area, or at least if this area of support does hold, right, then what we can look towards, once again, is we're going to look towards this area here, right, to be tested. Now, this area here to be tested. If it does get tested, if this area does get tested, then obviously what we can see is we can see a breakout on the upside. But if I'm honest with you, more than likely, from what I've experienced in the past, especially when you see this little breakout, there's going to be a retest, and then obviously it's going to follow through it. That's what I'm continuing to expect. Moving on to USDCAD. So what can we expect here? So USDCAD has been obviously in this downward trend ever since obviously oil had that massive sell-off, right? And obviously over the last week or two, it's obviously been recovering. Last few weeks, it's been recovering its price, and I think with more interest and more confidence and more demand for shipping products, and lockdown easing. Now, I've not heard of any reports of in tourism and leisure industry, to obviously start reopening, which I think is going to take a while anyway. And even if it does open, I can't see the vast majority of people literally running to the airport, catching flights. So I think it's not gonna move that much, right? But I still feel though that this may be a key area of support. If it does break this, right, what is key here is this gap here, this market gap here on the left, right, in early March, right? A lot of people are expecting this gap to get covered, right? It may have the opportunity over the next few weeks to get covered. So I believe after breaking this key area of support, which has literally been held since 13th of April, right? What we can expect is the market to move this way. And I believe that this area here, right, I'm just going to draw the zone that's like this, is going to come into play. Now, is this going to come into play over next week? It seems likely, or at least in the next 2 weeks, I feel as if the market is going to come towards this area. Okay, so let's move on to USDJPY. USDJPY is a critical area of support, resistance, because this area has been supported so well and it's provided so many sell opportunities on multiple occasions for myself and for many of you traders out there, right? And it has done so for literally, since once a bit similar to USDCAD, since the 13th of April. But there's not that much movement. The volatility in USDJPY is very little. So, once again, I still believe, come Monday, or at least Sunday night, I still believe the movement is going to be bearish from here, right? It's still going to be bearish here. It's going to go this way. I believe it's going to go that way, right? If it does continue, then we can see the market once again head towards this area here, this low that was created here. And I believe that this area is going to get upheld, all right? However, if all of a sudden investors start to see that, there might be a second wave of COVID-19, right? People are going to rush to the USD once again, and I think USDJPY is going to see that bullish movement, and we're going to see that 109 level get tested, right? So we can potentially see a break here to happen. Is it going to happen next week? I don't think so, if I'm honest with you. I don't think that's going to happen next week. I think we're going to see the continuation of the DXY bearish movement to continue. I believe that this area might get tested over the next week. Okay, so those are the 7 majors that I've obviously just quickly run through. I'm going to move on to gold and see what I'm expecting from gold, okay, over the next week. A huge amount of volatility on gold, as we can all expect. So on gold, right, I'm expecting a bearish movement. A lot of people are looking for bullish movements and bullish setups on gold because a lot of investors, although they've moved away from the dollar and we've seen this correction from the bullish movement of the dollar in the first quarter of 2020, I still feel as if gold, or at least in the interim, over the next week, we can expect a movement in this way, right? I believe that this trend line is going to get tested. That is what I'm expecting. I'm believing this trend line is going to get tested. If not, this area, right, of 1690, between 1690 and 1700, that area is going to get tested. It got tested last week. I believe it's going to get tested once again. Now, if it breaks this 1690 area, then we can potentially see more movement for gold to head towards this area. Oh, so that's what we can expect. That is what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting any bullish movements. Yes, it's coming to play the 1738 level. I feel as if gold we've seen the bullish movement for gold. In the interim of the next week, I believe what it needs, what gold does need, it needs a huge dump, or at least some sort of dump, if we're going to see that 1800 come into play. Now, I believe that this wedge that was created here, I've got it down obviously on a bigger, this little wedge that was here in the past, right? I'm just going to quickly draw it. This little bullish flag of some sort of wedge, whatever you'd like to call it. That break, that was potentially going to take us to 1800, but it didn't. And that's where the correction came through. And I believe now we're on a downwards trend again, right? Or at least we're going to see over the next few weeks a correction of the dollar before it does have any sort of bullish run once again. So yeah, guys, so that's my review of what to expect and expectations of the market and some of the opportunities and where you can find them in the Forex market going forward. I'm going to try and do these obviously as weekly as possible. Comment below if there's certain pairs or certain strategies or explanations that you want to see. Any sort of videos around obviously the Forex world, my personal experience, stuff like that. Whatever you want to see, just let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and just let me know what you guys want to see. And obviously I'm going to try and do that for you. But yeah, man, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.